Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. So glad that you are all here for the virtual tour of intentional communities. My name is Cynthia, and I'm going to be the host of today's event, which is featuring 3 intentional communities located in Hawaii. So I'm very excited for this session. I am not in Hawaii personally. I'm all the way in cold Vermont, but I'm actually going to be making a trip to Hawaii to visit these communities in January. And I'm very excited about that. And we still have a few more spots if anyone would like to join us on the group that's making the trip out there. And I'll share more details in a moment. But yeah, welcome, Robin, Lisa, Abby. Great to have you all here. I'm going to start now by sharing my screen and running through a little welcome presentation. So here we go. Yeah, once again, if you're just tuning in, this is the virtual tour of intentional communities. We do this event every month on the second Thursday of the month. However, we are going to be taking a break for the month of December. So just a little FYI, we're taking a break for the month of December. So this is going to be our last session in 2024, and we'll see everyone back in 2025. And as I mentioned, today is featuring communities in Hawaii. We have with us Sundari, Laikea, and Kumukahi community. So let's see. We have this event happening on StreamYard. So thank you to everyone who registered for this event or is a member of one of our programs. You are able to comment in the chat and really encourage that. We can also, all the people watching on social media can see us, but I may not be able to respond directly to your comments. So FYI about that. And as fantastic as StreamYard has been, we've also been running into some problems with it. And just an FYI, we will be moving to Zoom, hosting these sessions on Zoom starting in 2025. But we'll send out an email so you have a heads up about that and all the right links. Okay. As I mentioned, feel free to ask questions in the comment box. We want this to be an engaging conversation. The format will be each presenter having 10 minutes to share about their community and then 10 minutes for us to field questions from all of you. So really be thinking about what questions you want to ask these communities. And if you could go ahead and type into the chat now a little introduction. So would love to know where you're calling from. If you live in an intentional community, let us know which one. Also, let me know if you would like to be featured on one of these virtual tour events. That would be really great to know. And also, what do you hope to learn or get out of this session today? And I'll try to steer the conversation towards that. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind just putting in a short introduction into the comment box, that would be wonderful. And I'll give a big thanks to the co-hosts of today's event. That is the Foundation for Intentional Community, FIC, that has been hosting all of these events by donation for over 3 years now. It's really incredible that we've been doing these events for so long. Actually, I was reminded that Tracy, who's sharing on the call today from Laikea, was on one of the very first virtual tours. That was like 3 years ago. So it really has been an amazing journey doing all these events and learning about all the communities. So if you want to support FIC, I encourage you to make a donation. We're coming into the end of year campaign season in terms of nonprofits doing their fundraising. So feel free to make a donation, ic.org/donate. And all of the past virtual tours over the last several years is available on FIC's YouTube channel. So I encourage you to go over there and check out the past ones. And final announcement, as I mentioned, this upcoming tour to Hawaii, that is being offered through an organization that I run called Ecovillage Tours. And we are going to Hawaii January 4th through the 11th. So, right at the start of the new year for 8 days. It's going to be an amazing way to start the new year, of course, in a warm, nice place, but also with fresh energy, inspiration, a lot of networking and beautiful connections, getting to see all these beautiful communities you're going to learn about shortly, see them in person, hug the people, see the plants grow, engage directly in this new eco-village community way of life. So if you feel like joining, as I mentioned, we have now, I think, 2 spaces left. And the link there is ecovillagetours.com/Hawaii. All right, so I think that's everything I have. Just invite you all to relax, remove any distractions. We're going to be together for a little over an hour. Really encourage you to have something to take notes with nearby. Whew, yeah, and just some deep breaths. I know that we have been through a lot this week with the election craziness. So here's a moment to just center, to remember what is important, remember about the value of community and especially intentional community, where we can really come together to build and live into our values and help bring about a better world. So very excited for today's event to get a dose of inspiration, yeah? And we will kick things off now with our first presenter. And I'm going to invite Tracy to share with us. Tracy is from La'akea community on Hawaii Island. Go ahead, Tracy.
Hi. So as Cynthia said, my name's Tracy, and I live on the big island of Hawaii in the district of Puna in a community called La'akea community. I'm one of the founders. We began 20 years ago next March. So we're pretty psyched about that. As you can tell from this picture, our biggest goal, I'd say what makes us special, is we're working on finding the balance and harmony with each other and the land. So it's both, you have to have both in order to be successful, in our opinion. That means we have to practice our relationships with each other as much as we practice our relationships with the land. I researched and discovered communities probably 25 years ago, spent about 5 years researching other communities, visiting them, and tried to start one in Portland, Oregon, which is actually now the Columbia River Eco Village. Not to my doing. Somebody else took it over and succeeded there. But once I got to Hawaii, I got with 6 other people, and we bought this piece of land that used to be a permaculture education property and turned it into a sustainable community. Let's see here. Next slide. Our main house is the hub of all of our activity. No one actually lives in the main house or sleeps in the main house. It's where we go 24/7 to hang out, to use the kitchen, to have access to Wi-Fi. That's where most of the electricity is, because we are completely off-grid. We have Wi-Fi from satellites. We have water collected on the main house roof. We have solar thermal and solar electric that all are gathered at the main house. And the main house is also very central because it's where we catch and store human energy as well. One of the things that makes the community function well is making sure that we have access to each other. So we have community meals Monday through Friday, and we have a check-in in the morning that's optional, but many people show up at. And these are places where we cross each other's paths regularly. By crossing each other's paths regularly, it helps make sure that we're staying in harmony with each other. You know, if someone's got something up with somebody else, it's harder to hide if you can't just go disappear and do everything on your own in your own studio apartment. Here's some more pictures of the main house. This is a side porch that we just recently added with beautiful views of the gardens around it. And here's an outside view from the other side. The first slide I showed you, you're coming in from the left side, and here you're coming in from the right side. And as you can see from this view, you can see the solar panels on the roof and the solar thermal on the roof. Here's us having our community dinner together. There are currently 11 members at La'akea. We have a vision to grow between 15 and 20, depending on who shows up, because that's what's most important, is do we all fit together? Our model is kind of more like a chosen family than a large eco-village. We rotate our cook shifts, so everybody cooks one night a week, and there's typically 2 to 3 people on a cook shift. And the other 4 nights a week, you get to show up and eat what the other people have provided. It's really fun. We have music jams. That's the wonderful thing that the main porch allows us to do. We can just chill and sit on the porch and create whatever we want to create when we want to. Sometimes we cook over the fire. That's typically when we're focusing on eating more of our local foods. Typically, we eat about 50% off the land. And sometimes, you know, it depends on who's cooking. If you really want to focus, 90 to 95% of the food can come off the land. We are opportunistic localvores, so we like to eat what's locally grown if we didn't grow it ourselves. And the same thing with our meat. We are omnivores, but we want to know the source of where the food is coming from. And here we are at our little cook-off with a pretty view of the twilight coming in on the other picture there. And here we are actually building that amazing porch that I showed you already in several pictures, working together. The slide with all of us gathered around a tree is a work party that we got together for. We have all land work parties once a month, and Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, we have work parties where a few of us are leading and different people show up as they can. So sometimes the extended community abroad comes in. Lots of times we have farm supporters on our land. These are people that have come to check out what it's like to live with us. They stay with us for a month. And as part of that, they get to experience our community model of communication using nonviolent communication and peer counseling. And they also get to learn a lot of permaculture. The middle slide shows after we did an imu. An imu is a traditional Hawaiian oven that is basically a hole in the ground where you have a big fire and you heat up rocks. And then you put your food in there mixed with a bunch of banana leaves and banana stalks. And it's basically a big steamer. Then you cover it all up and you leave it for, at least 20 hours, sometimes 24. Then you pop it out. So we have a bunch of ulu there. We had some pork from locally caught pig, and we had a sheep from up on Mauna Kea. And then the picture is my mom planting some seeds in Keiki land. She happens to have moved in with us 2 years ago, and she's loving being in community with us. Here was a video. Here you go. Let's got some sound. And here we are also working together some more. That previous slide was a video of raising a bunch of chickens and putting them together. And then one of our members put that together as an Instagram post. And I thought it'd be fun to spice up the presentation with that one. This is our main garden, work party day, where we have a lot of kalo and giant green amaranth, basil, collards, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, lots of stuff. This is our orchard, one of them. It's mostly a citrus orchard, and sometimes people camp in there. We have a hot tub. And so this is a bigger view on one side and a close-up on the other. It's a ferrous cement hot tub that our neighbors helped us build. Here's our meadow space. It's a big open air space that we have where we host events. This happens to be when we have our Dancing in Paradise, which is a Sufi dance retreat. It's a beautiful night that night. And here we are gathered doing a Sufi dance, dances of universal peace. And we have an annual seed exchange that we brought back this year. We took about a 5-year break with COVID and the volcano and that kind of stuff, but now we're doing it again. And oh, this is to show you that it rains here a lot. This is the beauty of having an outdoor living. And right. So our membership process, if you're interested in being a member, first come and visit us. That's the number one. See if you like it here. I showed you the rain to make sure that you knew that that's definitely a part of living in a rainforest on the Big Island. And the next step after that would probably be to live with us for a month to give it even more of a chance to see how it feels. Becoming a farm supporter is a good idea. That's on our website. You can get more information there. Then if after that feels good, you come and you say, hey, I want to be a trial member. Trial membership lasts a minimum of 6 months. Typically, it lasts a year. And during that time, we ask you to show up for all of our business meetings, or at least as many as possible, where we practice making decisions together. I think that's what I have for you slide-wise. Can wrap that up there and address specific questions based on what you guys want to know.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tracy. That was a great presentation. The photos are so gorgeous, the lush landscape, and I love the videos and the rain video especially. I mean, I know it was raining, but it looked still like so beautiful. So
it's pretty. It could rain and still be pretty. It's the Lakea waterfalls. You just sit on the porch and watch the waterfalls.
Oh, amazing. Oh, so sweet. Yeah, we got a lot of positive comments in the chat. And there was a question, I think somebody joined later, and I want to clarify that all of the communities presenting today are on the Big Island of Hawaii. So all on the Big Island. Let's see here. Well, we have some questions about your membership. Are you looking for new members now? And also, what are the living quarters like for somebody if they come to visit or stay for that 1 month period?
Yeah. Okay. So we are looking for new members. We have opening. The living quarters vary depending on what your needs are. Some people come and they stay with us in a tent, but other people want to stay in a cabin. And we have some cabins that are community cabins that are available for folks. We use composting outhouses as our primary toilet, I guess I would say, and they're strategically placed around the land. We have one flush toilet on the land, so the folks that want to still flush it down can, and that's totally fine. But you have to do a small walk potentially, depending on which cabin you're in. The cabins don't have private bathrooms, and they're basically a very nice enclosed place with a bed that has windows, like open and close with glass. We also have what we call huts. And those are like partial greenhouses that have screen walls and a tarp roof. And they're also very comfortable, but in the rainy season, they can be a little bit damp. So people generally prefer the cabins.
Gotcha. Okay. And are you open to all demographics joining? Are you looking for younger or older specifically, or singles versus couples?
Mhm. All demographics are welcome. We are more interested in, at the moment, our population is predominantly 40s, 50s, and 60s. So we're definitely more interested in 20s and 30s, especially if you have a family. You're also very welcome. Um, but we don't turn away people based on age. What we
Mhm.
ask is you come and you check it out and you see if contribution is something that feels good to you. Because one thing that is important to us is working on the land and how we all fit each other's, how we can work together to create harmony. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, great. Okay, good. I think just one more question for you. And this is one that I could maybe ask to all of our presenters. And it's a little more nuanced, maybe a little more challenging one. So somebody is asking, well, here, let me just pull it up. So Paradise shares with us, I love the way you talk about choice and family and addressing conflict. This Ecovillage sounds beautiful. I'm curious if you could talk about how your group addresses the calls from Native Hawaiians for non-Indigenous peoples not to add to the colonialism there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So my answer to that is that when we first started this community, it was a very heavy weight on my shoulders. It was a heavy weight as to how could I be here doing this, basically inhabiting the islands when I'm non-Hawaiian, um, carrying white guilt. In the process of living here and meeting many local Hawaiians and local people who born and raised here for generations, I have realized that what's more important than the color of my skin is how I'm choosing to live. And can I embrace, in Hawaiian, there's a term, pono. Pono means balance and it means harmony. And sometimes directly translated, they might say righteousness, but not as in raw righteousness, but just as in balance and harmony. And is it effective? And the feedback I've gotten is that they appreciate the Hawaiians that have come and stayed with us and visited and come on tours. None of them are living with us yet, and I would love that to be different, but that hasn't happened yet. Um, they say that they appreciate what we're doing. They say that they appreciate that we're living in harmony with each other and the land, and that we are basically as Pono as we can be. That's my answer.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for that. Ah, great. Well, I know there are more questions, but we also have more communities to hear from. So maybe we'll circle back to some of
Can I
these.
just wrap it up with one sentence? Just
Absolutely.
you can get lots more information if you're curious about La'akea from the internet. We have our website. You can text me or email me. I'll respond. Yeah, no problem there.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. And maybe I'll see if I can pull up your website quickly. Yes, I can. And I'll put that in the chat so everyone can
Oh, I got it.
see. You
All right.
got it too? Okay.
Aha, you did it too.
Yeah, excellent. And actually, Tracy, if you can see the chat box, there are some questions specifically about your community. So maybe you could just type in there the answers to some of them. Yeah, if you can.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, thank you
Thanks.
so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And now we go to Katie. Katie is there at Sundari Gardens and Farm. And this is another community on the big island of Hawaii, I think not too far from La'akea. So yeah, great to hear from you, Tracy. Katie, glad that you're here.
Thanks.
Yeah, looks like I can maybe even pull up your presentation. There you go.
Great. Okay, so yes, my name is Katie. I am also a staff member at Sundari Gardens, so I am the manager. And um, what is good to know about Sundari is that we are a fairly new community, so we're just 6 years old, and are really committed to the beauty way, which some people know more about, and I'll share some more pictures of here. Um, so for us, all life is relationship, and we have decided to live in such a way that we spend a lot of time cultivating beauty in our space. I think that's kind of our difference in the sphere, is that there's so many incredible permaculture communities that I love, and we're really trying to be a combination of a farm and garden, a community, and also a space for retreat and healing, especially, which everyone is doing in their own ways. But as I said, Sundari means beauty. And so when you come to Sundari, it's like being in a retreat space. And we have large sculptures. We have a spa area, a pool, a hot tub, a cold plunge, a sauna. We have pretty nice facilities. Um, and we also have staff that help manicure the place, propagate exotic plants. We have a botanical garden of orchids and incredible varieties of things, because the beauty way is important to us. And we really believe that like beauty itself can be medicine, and just being in a place that's beautiful is medicine for us. And so finding that sweet balance of functional, like with food, and beauty is what we're striking for. And beauty in the sense of like place that you can just relax and feel held and nurtured in particular. And so some of our values are really creating a space where presence and stillness are available. So we have meditation every day. That is a big shared value that we hold. Feelings, clear communication, nonviolent communication, as is most places, very important to us. Self-responsibility. Healthy self is really important to us. So we have a commitment on our campus for non-habitual use of plant medicines of any kind, as a desire to be a space where people can be in recovery and come into right relationship with their self, and find a sweet balance of plant medicines or screen time. And so that's something that we often talk about, is how to be like really healthy ourselves, so that we can create a place of health where people come to us, throughout the community, to really be surrounded by healthy people. We definitely have an eco-spirituality bent. We have people from all different religious backgrounds who've lived with us. Native Hawaiians have lived with us. We've had, many people who are devout Jewish faith holders, definitely many different religions. But I would say sort of eco-spirituality, and this feeling that all life is interconnected and sacred, deeply unites everything that we do. And then, speaking to the Hawaiian piece, for many years, we had a commitment as a community to get weekly lessons from a Hawaiian kumu, which is a kind of teacher, and it's an ongoing discussion. We have a field of kalo that we have planted, and other medicines that we share, that were planted by Hawaiians that come and harvest it. And living in right relationship with the Hawaiian community is definitely something we care a lot about. And similar to what Tracy said, we have sought blessings from local leaders and kumus for our work, and how this land could support Hawaii, and what the Hawaiian value system is, which is really about being in relationship to the land. Malama Aina is something very, very important. And we definitely have and always seek to host Hawaiian folks at our property. And I can say we have actually specifically as a community held a few different Hawaiian folks that were going through a major recovery process, which is, affects many Indigenous people. and people all around the world, of course, but not just Indigenous people. And you know, I believe that we have done good in that way and are trying to be reciprocal in that way. Our community is pretty diverse. One thing that's interesting and different about Sundari is not a forever home for most people. We are, I would say we're kind of a gateway for people who might be digital nomads or able to take a 1 month to 3 year hiatus and really test out living in community. So a lot of people come to Sundari who maybe haven't lived in community before, maybe don't know a bunch about permaculture or land care, and we are teaching them. We also attract a lot of like coaches and healers and the like. And so we have 12 people right now living on property. We also have 7 staff members who help maintain the gardens, the lands, maintenance. And we also run, you know, a spa as well as an event space. So that's part of how we balance our books. And yeah, our ownership status is that we're actually owned by 2 people. We have a manager, that's myself, that I liaison between the community and owners and try to create as much co-governance as possible. And we have a weekly heart council space where we meet and talk about issues, as well as the predominant amount of that time we really check in with our hearts and connect emotionally and physically. And we are also off-grid. And we try to get as many folks eating and buying from our garden as possible. So there's a garden box that folks buy into. As I said, land care is this combination. So a lot of our folks are digital nomads or healers, and they work with staff to care for the land. And then we have really expertise staff that help us cultivate tropical fruit and food and flowers. This is back one of our staff. We have 10 acres of ocean view property. Here's a couple of pictures of just some of our practices. So the first top photo is us in song circle. Every Sunday we have a song circle that is a hub for singing about the divine. It's a place for prayer from all religious backgrounds. And we, often will have up to 80 people come, sing, pray, dance in that space. And we have different people who facilitate that. Sometimes we drink cacao or other teas. We have our weekly coherence, which we do sometimes as a large circle or in little dyads where people get to check in. And we also work with Thomas Hubel's collective trauma healing method of how to share in small groups and really be present and create coherence. And then our spa, which is an open to the public space, we also have closed times, and that's really a place where the community comes to rest and restore. Because as I said, healing is a big part of what we do. And then, because we have this external focus, we also have on the space. We see our whole home as like a bridge for other people to experience the beauty of Hawaii, the slowness of Hawaii, which I believe is just essential for the world. And so between the spa, we have rituals that happen, grief ritual happening next week on our property, festivals and weddings, those help support people in seeing and experiencing the beauty and benefiting from it. And then lastly, we have a property next door that has a co-ownership model, and it's very new. It's just a few years old, building from the ground up, more of homestead type project for people who do want to live in co-ownership and buy land in Hawaii. And the way to that co-ownership model, sort of the forever home for people who want to be connected to Sundari, but really want to invest in the place, is to come stay at Sundari, be a part of that community and see how you fit, and then transition into the forever home adjacent lot. And I'll just finish by saying there's some more information at sundarigardens.com. Right now we just have like a comment box that you can write into to say, hey, I'm interested in coming to stay, and then we'll send you an application. I also run a production company that helps produce retreats at Sundari called Good Gatherings. And there you can find a bunch of our upcoming retreats. We have a permaculture design course happening for the month of February, and other retreats throughout the year. And then you can also reach out to me if you want to have a group visit, like a larger group, a big family, and we can figure that out. And generally, I would say most of the people that come to us are people of all ages, but singles and couples. It is a little bit harder for us because we are in a somewhat retreat space to host families, but it depends on the age of the children, basically. So I'm happy to talk more about that. And let's see. Now I'm done with that.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie. That was wonderful. Yeah, I cannot wait to be there and experience the grounds and go to that lovely spa you were talking about. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm excited we'll be there for so long at the end of the tour. We're really going to be with you for like 4 days as we make day trips to visit other places. So very exciting. Yeah, we do have some questions for you. Here, let me pull up. I think there was just a practical question for people coming to visit for various lengths of stay to check out Sundari. What is the charge with work exchange, accommodations as non-residents, that sort of thing?
I would say that's a little bit, I mean, there's a lot to say in that because we have all types of accommodation, people that camp, people that stay in what I would consider, I call it eco-lux, because we're off grid, but pretty luxurious. So yeah, it really depends. We have a range of different accommodations. And then of course, length of stay depends quite a lot. So yeah, the best thing for that would be to reach out to us. And yeah, we don't always take work trade, but especially in the summer months or what we call off season, we usually take on kind of a larger group of work traders to do big projects on the land. So that's a great time to come in for work trade. And then kind of our big busy season here in Hawaii, which is the winter months, we are serving more people in retreats and that. So yeah, the costs, I would say we are definitely more expensive than some places because you get spa access and access to the grounds, and you are paying for staff. So, I think you get cared for a bit, but it definitely has a cost. So yeah, a lot of our long-term stays, I would say kind of the minimum is $1,000 a month. And then it goes up from there. But again, there's work trade and that is different. That's a different setup. So yeah, happy to talk more.
Yeah, good. Well, yeah, appreciate you putting your email address in the presentation so people can reach out to you with more specific questions. And yeah, sounds like it's an incredibly beautiful place. Well worth it.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll answer questions in the comments.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good too. I think I'll just I have one question for you, Katie, just more personally, if you want to share a little bit how you came to Sundari and if you were looking for intentional community. I know many of the people joining us are themselves on a search for community. So anything you want to share about that?
Sure, definitely. Yeah. Yes, I have been involved in the community movement also for like 20 years. I saw somebody was here from Uganda. When I was in college, I actually took a semester off and went and lived and worked on agroforestry in Kenya, and then like got adopted into this whole community. And I almost thought I would move to Kenya because it was the first time I really felt the level of intergenerational land-based community that I wanted. I then moved, I did a little bit of international. Yeah, I lived in Thailand, also found villages there. I'm like, okay, I'm committed to village creation. And then for about 15 years, tried to create it in California in many different varieties. I was a part of spearheading 4 different groups from like, we're homesteading, we're doing everything legit, building everything from the ground up, we're doing everything illegitimate because we can't do that. Like I have been a part of every kind of group in California and could not make it work. I think based on just the economics and the risks and the difficulty of the red tape there. And then I came to visit Sundari, was actually invited to come and consult around some business things for the because it is a community and a business, right? That's how we work. And stayed during COVID for that. I was like, wow, I'm working digitally. This is the perfect time. And then, the possibility of community here really got me. I'm just like, oh, wow. And like Tracy, I had to really work with my own colonial challenges of like, okay, what would it mean for me to be there instead of California? How could I be in the right relationship to be in Hawaii? And I definitely have very strong feelings about how people should be here from what I've heard from my kumus, my Hawaiian teachers, around like what it means to come and be in right relationship in Hawaii. And I'm committed to that. But similarly to Tracy, I felt like I was receiving a blessing that if I was going to work with the land and for the healing of humanity, that was from people who are spiritual leaders in the Hawaiian community. That is what the Hawaiian value system speaks to, and that's important. So I just felt like it was possible here. And Hawaii sometimes is like, you feel a yes or not. And I felt a big yes. So it radically changed my life, and I'm grateful to be here. It's been 4 years now.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, sounds like it's been quite the journey, and so glad that you're there now and thriving and doing the good work. Yeah, great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Katie. And now we will go to Juan Pablo. Thank you for your patience. And Juan Pablo is going to share with us about Kumukahi. I think I said that right. Village.
Right.
All right. Take it away.
Okay. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, everyone else, for showing up too. So can you see my presentation now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, this is top view of our beautiful land, Kumukahi Village. I'm Juan Pablo. I'm one of the co-owners and co-founders of the community. And I would say one of the biggest things for us really is to be in right relation with this land. We appreciate the sacredness of this land that has been has come to be under our stewardship, and it's a very special place to be. So I'll just start by giving you a bit of an overview of what the land that we're on. It's a land that's over 20 acres of, requires a lot of love and care. We're right next to a lava field, as you can see in this bottom left picture. It actually, I'll show you a different picture soon, but that's right across the street from now. It was taken out by the lava in 2018. And we inherited this land with some like beautiful structures already on them and well taken care of. Mature orchard that produces a lot of different varieties of fruits, gardens, and we've created a horse paddock. We have a duck pond and beehives. So really the nourishment that we get from the land and the care that we put into it is something that's really special about our community. I'll mention we are a very young community. We started in 2021. So compared especially to La'akea, we are their much younger sibling, perhaps. And this land is just very naturally abundant. We have a wide variety of fruit trees. You see some of the fruits here: avocado, soursop, lychee, mango, cacao, banana, coconut, Rollinia, abu, which I'm sure some people haven't even heard of, guava, cashews, starfruit, citrus. And I would say one of our passions is to keep planting different varieties of trees and in some sense become a bit of like a living library of different, a lot of things want to grow on this island. And we're really taking that to heart. We also have over a dozen smaller bubble gardens that provide us with vegetables, fruits, and herbs. And we just get a lot of abundant sunshine. rain, as you saw from like a video, and we have a beautifully rich soil. So we're very privileged in that way, and that means that we're striving, kind of how Tracy mentioned, striving more and more to be able to eat almost entirely from the land. We are also completely off grid. Our power comes from solar. Our water comes from catchment from the rain. And we do have Wi-Fi as well. Just a very brief thing about the story of Kumukahi Village. So in the mythical history, we're actually located right next to the sacred hill where the goddess Pele, if anybody knows a little bit of Hawaiian history, the goddess Pele challenged Chief Kahawali to a rock sledding contest and actually lost to him, and then in her fury chased him down all the way to the ocean. In more recent history, the previous community was a Yogananda meditation community. So they take really good care of the land and really left us some beautiful meditative vibes here as well. So this land has a really nice, peaceful vibe to it. Now in 2018, what you see here circled is actually our land, which was untouched by the lava, but the lava came incredibly close. It completely overtook the land next to us, and actually it was hot enough that it burned down the main building of the previous community that lived here, Polestar community. And that was great misfortune, of course, but in some ways that allowed us to be here, because that was, I believe, one of the turning points for the previous community to say, okay, maybe it's time to move elsewhere, since their main building actually burned down. So that's what created an opportunity for us to be here. We are a group of 7 co-founders started this project, and really we had this shared vision of planting the seeds for what is the future of what it means to be in harmonious connection with nature, with other people, and within ourselves as well. So all of us knowing we had a lot of internal work to do, and a lot of humanity right now does. And I would say we're also fueled by a bit of a naive underestimate of what were the challenges involved in taking care of such a vast land. I had experience with city communities. I started a couple of communities in San Francisco before this, and it's a completely different scope and level of commitment that it takes. But we've all been very relentlessly enthusiastic about working through all these challenges and the growth that has brought for all of us. So I'll speak a little bit about some of the key features of our community. Here we have a picture of Steve playing the guitar. I'm weeding a garden behind us, and our 3 most recent community members are these beautiful duckies. So these are our core values, which have really kept us going throughout this project. There's slight shifts here and there in terms of the values, but they have largely stayed the same. You can read them, and I'll just give them a quick read, and I'm happy to answer any questions about how we actually embody these. But our values are embracing evolution, finding balance and integration. I'll speak a little more about that. Empowering the softer voices, which we believe is really key in creating the new way of living that this world needs. Sharing in our abundance. We're honored to be in this land, and we want to create a method to share it with each other. Honoring the Aina. Aina is a Hawaiian word for the land, this motherland here. Creating playfully and playing creatively. So not forgetting about the joys and the playfulness of life. Being courageously authentic. So really looking deep inside, understanding it ourselves. and connecting compassionately with each other. So I'll go just a little bit deeper into two of these values that have been really important for us. One of them is finding balance in integration. As we well know, there's a lot of polarization in the world right now. People divided against other people, but also us divided with ourselves. So really, we find different ways of integrating and finding bridges between these divisions. I think the word bridge is something that comes up very recurrently for us. There's different ways to do that, of course. What is the bridge that can be built between the mind and the heart, or between tradition and innovation? How do we make this coexist in harmony? Or between, people that are in more like privileged status and less privileged status. All of these bridges are we are really interested in building. We really care about honoring the Aina, as I mentioned, the land. We embrace regenerative permaculture practices. That's really a key part of how we want to live here. We are always trying to learn about indigenous wisdom of different traditions, including Hawaiian, but also whether it's South American, Native American, Celtic. On the right here, actually, this is a group of us celebrating Beltane, the festival of fertility in Celtic tradition. So yeah, bringing all of that together and forming a really reciprocal relationship with the land, meaning we are not here just for the land, to take from the land and to harvest for our benefit, but really to care for it and listen to its needs. Something that's special about our community structure is we have a group of co-owners and co-founders that started this village, and then we have villagers who are not necessarily co-owners, and these circles intersect between the co-owners and the villagers. And ideally, we would what we want is to keep bringing more co-ownership into the land. Not necessarily, it could be through financial investment, but we are also actively exploring how to translate work investment on the land into co-ownership. And this special way of these circles that intersect means that we have to be careful about how we make decisions. There's some decisions that are at the level of co-ownership, such as decisions that are either very large in financial extent or that will permanently affect the state of the land. And then there's decisions that are more related to the day-to-day living in the land, and those are, we try to integrate all of the villagers into that kind of decision making, and that we actually have 4 working circles. We're inspired by sociocracy models, and we have the working circles of land care, community, finances, and outreach. And then one last thing I wanted to talk about what we're trying to do here that I find special is we're starting to lean more towards the direction of encouraging entrepreneurship in the people who come and be with us. So within this land that provides an abundance, we want to be able to support the different people who live here to start their own maybe businesses that are in right relation with the land. So here's like just a couple of examples of what we've done so far. Is we've started a bamboo, we have a bamboo forest that we keep caring for, harvesting, treating, and hopefully we'll be able to use it for construction. We've also started a nursery with a wide variety of fruit trees that many people on this island might not have. So we want to always continue to support different people who live here, to support their creative spark and in finding outside the box ways of being with the land. Lastly, I just wanted to talk about some of the biggest challenges we still have. One of them is, how can we be financially sustainable in this current world when we're really trying to create something different and being in right relation with the land and each other? So we can't forget about the realities of having a mortgage to pay, the reality that caring for this land, 20 acres, really takes a lot of resources as well. And so how can we do that without falling into the same exploitative patterns that we are trying to move away from? The second one is the really good question that was brought up, and how to be in right relation with the larger Hawaiian community, with this freshness of the colonization wound that's still very much around here. And maybe I'll just take a minute to address that question that I found really good. It has been really crucial for us. It's been present. I think part of the naivete that we started with was not being fully aware of the extent to which us being here would touch that wound. And so I'll give you the most clear example we have is our name, Kumukahi Village. Even though it was given originally by one of the Kumus of the area, has received a lot of pushback from the local community. And I think a lot of what our role is to be here, to be in right relation, is to be willing to listen and be uncomfortable, to notice the defensiveness that comes up if, for example, somebody criticizes the name, even though it was given by a Kumu elder, really noticing that defensiveness, being uncomfortable with it, and willing to listen. So we are currently actually in the process of changing our name and consulting with Hawaiian people who also want to build these bridges and make sure that we are in right relationship with the land and larger community. And lastly, I mentioned given that we have this particular co-ownership structure, the problem of making decisions effectively, so not taking forever to make decisions, but yet consensually, is always an ongoing challenge. And there's work to be leaning on, such as sociocracy models, for example, but it's very much nuanced and specific to each community. So we're always learning how to be with that. I think that's what I have for today. Feel free to visit our website, kumukahivillage.com. There is a contact section there where that would be the best way to start. If you're interested in joining us, it would be to just send us a message, come visit. As Tracy said, come stay for a month. We can see how we fit with each other. And then we can expand that into bigger and bigger membership into our community.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Juan Pablo. Really appreciate that beautiful presentation. I loved how you shared your values and those questions at the end. Really impactful. I appreciate, the vulnerability of sharing. And these are the things we're struggling with, and these are the questions we have. So, thank you so much. Also, thanks. I didn't realize that your land is where Polestar Village used to be.
That's right.
We had Polestar on this event. I think it was like a year ago when they were ramping up with the development of a new community in Colorado. And we got to hear about the lava flow and they had to leave. And I'm so glad to hear that you all stepped in and are continuing that community spirit.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We definitely have inherited the intangible spirit of meditation and harmony and peace. And also one of the key caretaker of the land actually has supported us very directly. Comes here with his tractor and helps us out. So it's very much, they did a beautiful job of handing it to us. It helps us succeed.
Yeah. Fantastic. I love that. Very good. Okay. Well, feel free, folks, if you have more questions for Juan Pablo about Kumukahi Village, feel free to put those in the chat. And I think, oh, Juan Pablo, did you share a little bit about your story? I know you said that you were creating communities in California and it was very different than what you've been doing. But yeah, anything you want to share about how you stepped into your role at the village where you live now?
Yeah, I definitely resonate with Katie. We had been planning to live in community for a long time, and the original plan was to do it in California. And then, for several reasons, like cost is a big one, but also like the fires in California, the prohibitive laws, it was a little bit discouraging, and we were still like looking. But then some of our co-founders visited Puna, just saw the beautiful large number of communities that live here, large possibility for healing, for abundance. And after a few visits, it became clear that, well, actually one of our co-founders happened to look what is available in Puna in terms of land, and it kind of felt like one thing led to another. Before we know it, we were caretaking for this beautiful land. So it's been a wonderfully growthful experience. The challenges never stop on this land, and if you're into that, then this is a good place for you.
Yeah. Awesome. And we do have a question here from Abby. It's a straightforward question. How often do you have shared meals together?
Mm-hmm. At this point, we have them once a week. And yeah, I would love to expand that. If there's, we have like different skill sets and different people contribute in different ways. I was very inspired by Tracy saying that they have them every day. So maybe we'll get to that at some point, but for now, once per week.
Gotcha. Oh, and then there was an earlier question. Do you have any pet policies around cats and dogs coming to stay there?
Yeah, we have lots of kitties around. We try to maintain a soft boundary about how many total cats, because we know that while they are helpful in controlling rodents and all of that and loving us, they can also be hurtful to the ecosystem with geckos and birds. So while we don't have a strict cap, we try to maintain a soft upper boundary. In terms of dogs, we've had one dog living in the land for most of our existence, and really helps us with chasing away the pigs. I think Kiddo is about to leave, so we're looking for a dog to fill its position as well. And then we have, I don't know if I mentioned, we have 4 horses that we're caretaking for, and two of them are pregnant. They're going to have little horses soon. And the 3 ducks are the latest addition. We really want to integrate more animals into the ecosystem because we understand the importance of that in terms of a permaculture approach, how important animals that are fit in well into the ecosystem are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay. You have a whole collection of animal friends living in the community. That's nice. Great. Oh, I guess one more question I'll throw your way and then we'll transition into the next piece. Ray is asking, do you sell the produce from the gardens at all, or is it mostly nutritional sustenance for the members?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've really ramped up our garden production this year. For now, it has always been like for the people here. And if we have an overabundance of something, we'll bring it out, say, to share with the rest of the community. We are exploring, we're wanting to start a CSA as one of these entrepreneurship ventures that I mentioned. And so for that, we are really trying to ramp up the production while being in right relation with the land, right? Without becoming a monoculture, agriculture kind of situation. So yeah, to answer that, we've started going to farmers markets and selling in small quantities, and we're exploring the possibility of doing a CSA.
Okay, nice. Excellent. Good. Thank you, Juan Pablo. Wonderful presentation.
You're welcome. And I'll just mention, like, the ability to just eat from the land, I think is one of the really big benefits of being in a place like here or like or Sundari.
Yeah, the food, all those fruits you were naming. Oh my gosh, just sound so.
And it nourishes you in a way that grocery store food does not nourish you. I'll say that.
Yeah. And I could imagine too, as we've been researching to prepare for this tour, realizing how expensive grocery store food is there. So I can imagine there's a big, even extra draw to produce and eat from the land.
Yeah, I think part of the big passion for producing food here is that Hawaii actually produces a lot less food than it used to pre-colonization. And I believe more than 90%, maybe Tracy or Katie can correct my numbers, but more than 90% of the food is currently imported. And that doesn't need to be the case.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue. I'd love to now open it up to some conversation among all of us. So feel free to unmute and we can have some dialogue. Thank you for everyone who's been listening and asking your good questions. If you have questions for all of our presenters, now's a good time to put those in the chat. But I have a few that have been cooking in my mind. One being, I wonder if you could share. I'm curious about the state of intentional communities on the Big Island of Hawaii or on the islands in general. Like, how is it going with the movement there? Tracy, you're there at Laikea. You've been there now for a long time, really established community. There's these newer communities, but you've also had volcanoes and on other islands, the wildfires. And yeah, how is there like an openness to the development of more communities? Are these communities growing or not? Anything you want to share, and feel free again just to popcorn style share your thoughts.
Well, I'm kind of curious what Tracy would say because she has the like long term. But I have things I could say for sure. But Tracy, do you want to start from the perspective of all the context you might have?
Perspective of time. Especially the district that we're in. We're in what's called the Puna district. There's been a lot of movement towards starting intentional communities. And there have been many that I have seen come and sadly go. But it's I would say, if anything, energy seems to be increasing. We have Kumukahi now. We have Sundari with the property across the street where they're trying to do a similar kind of community to where they're co-owning. But yeah, that's what I would say. But I would also say it's hard. Starting a community is hard. And it takes a lot of personal commitment and the group that you're working with to do this. It takes a lot of commitment there. Here, the challenges that are easier to side-wise because of the volcano are some of the legal and I would say zoning and restrictions and stuff like that can be easier, but as several of the other communities out there have found, not so all the time. So yeah, that's what I would say. Katie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what I would say is that, several of us who, for what Tracy just said, like believed, okay, here we can do things because there's other intentional communities and there's a way that things are done here where it doesn't seem so difficult like California, have faced some challenges legally in the last few years around just like, what are you doing on that land? Wait, no, it's not for living, it's for farming. And So there has been a group of us meeting to try to, really make the case here. And I have even reached out to IC.org and would love if anybody knows, pro bono lawyers or people that care about community, because there is a history where there was some legislation passed for there to be like demonstration zones, for example, that we could fall under, because one of the challenges of living in our area is you can't really get a lot of house insurance because there's a volcano in certain areas and there's volcano zones. We have lower productivity in certain zones because of volcanic soil, not where Tracy or Kumukahi is exactly, I don't think, but more where we are, we have lower productivity. And so we're trying to make a case actually to local officials to change some of the policies to say, like, the only way we can take care of these 10 to 20 acre plots of land is with people and in a village type setting, or we have to be a monoculture farm, and we want to see a different world. And so can you help us help you create a more beautiful future? And but yes, it's not perfectly smooth sailing. There's definitely challenges and a need for input if you want to come be a part of that project.
I wanna endorse everything that Katie just said. We've also been faced with some legal challenges. And maybe I'll just add another layer, which is Puna is fantastic because it has so many intentional communities, so many like spiritual intentional communities, lots of like dances, cacao ceremonies, of beautiful events. And also there's a pretty distinct separation between this world of intentional communities and the rest of society. And that including local Hawaiian people often. I know there's been a lot more efforts, especially by people like Katie, to really bridge those, and we want to continue that. But it's really a challenge to overcome, and an important one, I think. I think there can sometimes, especially in spiritual intentional communities, there can be a little bit of ungroundedness and like living out there in the stars, and that can be alienating for some people. And so that's part of the reason why living in a really integrated way is important for our community, to be able to like hold the beauty of spirituality and these dances and cacao ceremonies, and also live in the world that we live in right now and with the people around us.
Yeah, great. Thank you all for sharing those different layers of what's happening, the positive and the challenges. We do have another question here on a similar thread. Can you share about the natural disasters on the island? I'm imagining for people who are perhaps thinking of moving and not so familiar with the volcanoes and what has happened and what's the risk level for something happening in the future. Yeah, whoever wants to speak to that, you're welcome to.
Okay, I'll go. Basically, it's lava. And with all of the global climate change, could be more hurricanes. We will see what the future brings. Lava is, it's roll the dice, but it's also a not super common roll. So, maybe the dice gets cast about every 30 years or so, and we'll see what happens after this last eruption, because it was so huge. We might get lucky. We might get more than 30 years, but you don't know where it's going to decide to go. You cross your fingers and you watch. But basically, the thing that helped, because we were here during that 2018 flow, and we were evacuated twice. And it was sketchy because it was a mile away from us, and we had this dark cloud above us that would move like this from either side, but it never left. So being completely off grid, we were running the generator every day because the solar panels couldn't work in the cloud. It was raining acid rain. All of our aquaculture systems died. It was raining Paley's hair, which is microfiber glass particles that get in your fingers. toes and ankles as glass splinters. Most of us left the land because it was not a fun place to be, myself included, because I had a, God, how old was she? 8-year-old daughter at the time. She's 16 now. And when we did come back, when the lava went away, there was a big insecurity within us. Like, how safe are we? And actually, I was going to mention that if you look in the IC magazines, IC.org magazines, we have over 10 articles written by members and about La'akea in there, if you research in there. And one of them I wrote after our lava experience about how we took time and attention to come back into trust, into trusting each other, into trusting the land, and trusting the system. And as part of all of that, what I came to embrace was there's really nowhere that's safe. You know, people talk about the lava. Oh my God, well, the lava, well, maybe you go live somewhere else and it's a tornado that could just rip everything apart, or you know, the hurricanes that are hitting the Florida and the East Coast and the fires on the West Coast. You never know. I guess lava is definitely a bit more permanent because everything turns to rock. But it's just something that you get to decide to embrace. It helps you stay in the now.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually say, well, first of all, having lived in California where fires became increasing, I personally choose lava because lava is slow moving, and I just, you know, you gotta choose your natural disaster, it feels like, and I feel more confident with lava. Our hurricanes currently are just giving us heavy rain and wind, and you know, there'll be like storm watches, and we'll tend to, you know, make sure that there's not things that could be hit by the wind, and sometimes people's roofs sustain a bit of damage and you gotta like ratchet it down and more screws on it or something. But there hasn't been anything while I've been here that's been traumatic like that. But I kind of feel like part of what creates this creative energy here is this reality of, I call it almost like sand painting. Like there is a chance. I think it's true everywhere, but I think it's more visceral here, of like the lava could come and it could just choose your neighborhood, and then you could, but again, it might be 50 years till that happens. So you have quite a bit of time to be in the now and be present and love it. And it may never come, but it definitely is like a reminder to be present and be grateful. That's for sure, which I think is good for pretty much anyone everywhere.
You're here.
And maybe I'll add just the flip side of the natural disasters, which is we're also blessed in some ways. You know, when the pandemic was forcing everyone in like California to shut down, people were living here as if like nothing was happening, but largely because of the island container that was formed. And things like abundance of water, which might become a serious issue in many places in the not too distant future. I'm hopeful that we won't have that problem here.
Yeah, great points. Excellent points. Yeah, and it's so true. Everywhere you live, there's good things, there's things to watch out for. You gotta pick what you can handle. Yeah. Aw, sweet. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you for making the time to be here today. I think we're going to wrap up shortly, but I, again, want to thank you all. Thank everyone for listening and asking such good questions. I will remind you that in December, we're going to take a month off from doing our virtual tour events, but we'll be back in the new year with new communities. And if you are curious about the Hawai'i Eco-Village tour that I'm co-leading coming up in January, I'll put that link again in the chat. And it's also just like a good way to see information about other communities on the island, because I think we're going to visit 7 or 8 communities. So there's a lot there, and it's all on the website, and you can read the descriptions and go to the websites of each community as well. Good. Okay, so I think I'll just wrap things up. We'll have one more round with a final question for you all. So feel free to share any final thoughts. I think especially if you could share any advice you have for the people listening, many of whom are early in their community journey, just sort of figuring out, what are these places? Maybe I want to join one. Maybe I want to start one. Anything that you might offer from your own experience with finding, starting, and living in community. Yeah. And short too, if you can. Concise.
Maybe I'll start this time. I'll say have a plan, have a vision, and then be willing to just be very flexible with that, because things will change in ways that you will not imagine. Yeah, it really takes a really strong commitment to not give up. There's going to be challenges, and I think this is part of the reason why we do it, is to the path of like ever learning. If it's not like an interpersonal issue, it's some, tree that fell somewhere, or like my duck died, or the legal county issues, whatever it is, there's always going to be a new challenge. And if you surf with those, it can lead to some really invaluable growth. So it's like no other experience I've had before.
I like the surfing metaphor. Seems appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you all.
Yeah, I could just say, there's definitely big challenges. Getting a group of people to work together is hard, and having really good communication skills and investing in the people skills is so essential. Like, how do we make decisions together? How do we communicate to each other? I feel like those are foundational. And then I don't know, what I usually tell people is go into a community that's already been there for at least 4 years, because they've done some of the hardest work. I think the first 4 years of any community, again, I'm part of a couple, so Sundari and then the other property next door, and I can say it was exponentially harder than I thought it was going to be. And yeah, that's what I usually recommend people, is like, try to join, try to find. There's so many communities that want more people, and there's like so many to choose from. See if there's one that could fit for you and your group, rather than start your own potentially, so you don't have to start from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good advice.
Katie, Juan Pablo, awesome advice. Yes. There are a lot of communities out there, and they're as varied as people are. So the chances of you finding a community that's going to work for you, if you're looking for one, are really good. It's really high. What I learned, my biggest takeaway, is that it's all about the people. Yeah, the location is nice. Yeah, the size of the land, all that kind of stuff is nice, but it's about the people. And do your group of people, can you guys communicate clearly with each other? Can you guys face each other on a daily basis with an open heart and desire to work together? That's what's more important than anything else. We started 20 years ago, and it was hard work. I would say the first year, 2 years, definitely the first year, we had a meeting every single day. It was, lots of work, and you have to be able to be in a place, in a time where you have that freedom. So if you need to work somewhere and make money, 9 to 5 kind of thing, and create a community at the same time, that's going to be really hard. And so I would definitely follow Katie's advice go with something that's already developed, and then just see what's important to you. How within yourself, notice how much connection do you want? How much individuation do you want? Do you want to be in a consensus community? Do you want to be in a community that's more like, tell me what to do? There's room for everything. and everything out there exists. So have fun exploring. That's what I have to say.
Oh, yes. Have fun exploring. So much to learn from. So many successful communities that are really an inspiration, especially right now, just again to mention the time that we're in here in the United States and also globally. And we need those sources of inspiration to really point towards how we create something better, even though it's might be challenging to do, but we work there because it's worth it, and slowly we help to create something beautiful. Oh, thank you all so much. Excited to see you soon in January. Thank you. Take care everyone. Thank you for watching.
Thank you
so much.
Bye.